joy that God gives in giving us His children. This huge responsibility that automatically comes upon us. And then this great accountability that we deal with. Then finally, I'll close with this. The fourth one is genuine spirituality. Now in this, I also embed, I paraphrased it in a different way, but I actually wanted to call it as a high calling. The Father's calling is a high calling. It's not a simple one. It's no mere calling. Because we see that the calling is that we are called to imitate the Heavenly Father. We've just read what Jesus had to say in the contrast of how God, the Heavenly Father, is, how we come so short. We, being evil and wicked, yet we give good things. We try to be good as fathers, we try to be our best, but we so fall short when we kind of compare and contrast with our Heavenly Father, the perfect Father that He is. We read that in Matthew chapter 5, verse 45. Just as your Heavenly Father is perfect, you will also be perfect. That's what Jesus teaches in the Sermon on the Mount. Our Heavenly Father is a perfect Father. Our Heavenly Father is a good Father. We read that in James chapter 1 verse 14. We read, every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights, in whom there is no variableness nor shadow of turning. He is unchanging. He is perfect and He is the same. Yesterday, today and forever. We might be good on a day, on a given day we might be doing good as a father. But I want you to submit to us that apart from our reliance, dependence, constant, continual dependence on the grace of God, you and I have no means of ourselves to be coming any close to be that Father that God calls us. And so is it that we desperately need the grace of God to shun our own fleshy, sinful, carnal nature, to mortify our own flesh. Often when I see in dealing with my children, even the anger that ought to be demonstrated goes out of balance. In the spur of the moment there comes an unrighteous anger. And yes, we go for it sometimes. But when we see God has that righteous anger, in that right time He comes in a gentle way, He breaks our heart. And I've learned this a little now and then sometimes. It so happened once my daughter was not behaving the way she ought to behave, and I told that I would not talk to her. I didn't want to respond in the anger that was building up in me because she was not behaving, she was not listening, she was not obeying what I was saying. And so I could have immediately responded in my unrighteous anger there. But by the grace of God, I could withhold, and then I responded and I said, till you obey me, I would not speak to you. It so happened the next morning I was going to my office, and every morning when I go to my office, she comes running to give me a kiss. She comes running to give and say, bye daddy, and give a kiss. And I was not letting her do that. That girl broke down like no other girl. And I could not control actually in the response. And it came about that she reconciled the fact that it was inappropriate for her to respond in disobeying. And so when we see that we can learn from our Heavenly Father in the way that He loves us, and also in the way that He has that time of disciplining, it makes us to consider that it's a high calling. It's a high calling. And the second thing that we see is in the homes, as we read in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 27, as husbands we are called to love our spouses. We are called to love our spouses. By the way, notice there, it's not the reverse. The husbands, the wives are not called to love their spouses. Very interesting. when we see that, why is it so? As though it's so natural for them to love their husbands. God doesn't put that there. He says, submit to them. But to husband, he says, love them. Or love your spouse. And here I would want us to take note, and that's truly the great gift that we can give to our children, that we love our spouses as the most important person on the earth. Often we give that and reserve that to our parents also, even after marriage. We easily can give that and talk about how loving our parents are and all this. But as unnatural as it is, because unlike the spouses who can probably naturally can love, the husbands ought to learn to love. And this we see, just as you see a little child, the mother naturally knows to cuddle and to show that love and demonstrate that motherly care and love in running after the little one when there is something as trouble or crying. And it comes naturally from the motherly instincts, probably in the way God has wired, in the grace that God has given. They can love the little ones in such a natural way. And so love probably comes in a natural way to our spouses, but to husbands they need to learn. They need to learn right from diaper changing to the way that anything and everything, in the way that they need to handle the little ones. I mean, I don't know how the mothers not actually get that, but for the fathers, we need to learn how to hold, and there is this shaky holding that we have in the first time, and then we slowly learn and learn. And probably, we also need to learn to love. And in that context, I have an immense truth that I myself am learning. See, we have no love in of our own treasure of our heart that we can give to our spouses or to our children. But it is the one who is the source of all love, that is God Himself. We read that in 1 John chapter 4, verse 10. Not that we love God or not that we can love of ourselves, but it is God of love that we have, that we can draw that love. And when we understand that love, and when we have that deep understanding of God's love, and draw from that love, from the Calvary's love that was demonstrated, we grow in being able to love. It is impossible in our fallen, selfish nature to be able to love others. But it is only from the cross of Calvary that we pick up to know what it is to love. And when you read this chapter of love in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, you and I will be not have any doubt that that love is so vividly demonstrated on the cross of Calvary, in the life of Christ, in the love that was lavished upon us, in His dear Son that was given for us. God demonstrated His love. And in that demonstration of His love, He's asking us just to be imitators of Him. We don't have to invent it first hand. We don't have to reinvent the wheel as to how we need to love our spouses or our children. But we can just learn. We can mimic, we can imitate. And that's what Paul calls in 1 Corinthians chapter 4. He says this in verse 16. Be ye followers of me. Because he is following Christ. And even in Ephesians chapter 5 verse 1 he says, be ye imitators of God. In Philippians chapter 3 verse 17 he says, be ye followers of Christ as I am. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 1 he says, follow me as I follow Christ. And I'm marveled as to how God gave this such a grace to the Apostle Paul, where he could say that. And may that be ours also as a portion. And as we hear this word, may you and I take note to consider these very words of God and ask for much grace for those that are fathers, much grace for those that are the leaders in the home, much grace for all the men, that we would grow in the grace of God. We would take our calling seriously, that we would have this genuine spirituality in reflecting the character of God, our Heavenly Father, to our home and to our children. So as we consider, let's close our eyes and ask the Lord for His blessing upon the word. But as I have us review, it is a great joy to receive this privilege of being a father. It is also equally a huge responsibility where we are called to be the ones who will respond for the inability that these little ones have to write the moral code upon their hearts. And also a great accountability that we ought to give on a day-to-day basis as we give in a manner as a father cares for the child. That is what God desires of us. And also this genuine spirituality, the high calling to reflect God the Father to our children and also in our homes. That the gospel would shine in through our lives. And that God would be glorified. As we reflect well, there is a glory that comes to the Heavenly Father as we get to mimic, as we get to show forth God the Father in and through our own lives. Let's ask the Lord for His grace. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, we praise you this evening. Help us consider this great God that you are, this great Father, our Heavenly Father, the perfect Father, the good God that you are, the generous God, and yet Lord, a righteous God, a holy God that you are, that please thee lavish your love upon us, that we could become your children, that we could come to thee, that we could know you, God, not just as a holy God, but also our Heavenly Father, that we could be intimate with you, Lord, that we could grow in your likeness, that we would grow in the grace and the knowledge, that we would be imitators of you as fathers. Also, Lord, I pray for each one of us, Lord, to do our part, Lord, particularly as spouses, and even as children, as youth, Lord, as we remember our own fathers in their own fragile lives that they have, and unable of themselves to be able to live in accordance to this high calling. Lord, may we do our part in upholding them, praying for them, supporting them, and Lord, desiring that His grace would be so abounding in their lives, dear Father, that you would be glorified into all them. Father, we thank you this evening for giving us your word. Ask for your blessing. Make this our portion as well. Father, we pray for the blessing upon the offerings. We pray for the blessing upon the rest of the week. Be with us in a very special way. In Jesus Christ.